Hey everyone, welcome back. Matt from the PD Group, along with my brother Anthony. This is the Finance Things in Life. And today we have special guest Marty Grizzanti from Suplex Properties, owner. And today we're going to be talking about real estate investing.
Welcome, Marty.
Hey now. Thanks for having me, boys.
Thanks for being here. It's been a while. We
Long time.
Grew up with Marty back in the day, and
Shout out Hilton Heat. Hilton Flash.
Hilton Flash.
Don't even get them mixed up.
Actually, you know what? I think at the time we were Hilton Flames.
Really?
We were Flames.
Whoa. Was it really?
I think everyone had a little different name.
Rebranded
at the
and
time,
rebranded and rebranded.
Was that U10
yeah.
then? U10? Was my dad the assistant coach then or no? That was later. I was okay.
Way back in the day.
Back in
Yeah.
With Paul Davis.
30 years ago.
With Paul Davis.
30? How old am I? Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Just a quick 30 years. No worries.
Hey,
Quick
I
trip
think we
down
all look
memory
the same, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had these bags under my eyes as a 6-year-old. How was it sleeping well then?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Tried to
we
make
were
my
just
U10 team.
reminiscing some stories back in the day.
Oh, man. Great times, man. Great times.
In innocent trouble, not bad things.
Yeah. Right.
The type of trouble you get in on a fruit and vegetable farm.
Right.
And
Cool.
collecting tadpoles.
And collecting tadpoles. Yep. That was fun, man. Good times.
Good times.
But,
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I had stumbled across some of your content. So you've got a podcast of your own. Looks like you've been doing quite well on not only the commercial side of real estate, but residential. And if you want to just give a brief background on kind of what you've been doing for the listeners, we can start there.
Well, thanks for the kind words. Thanks for even having me here. It's always good to see you guys.
Always great.
Love that you guys are doing so well. It's amazing. Love like Hilton alumni, Canandaigua alumni, but just Hilton guys that are, in business doing cool things. My partner Matt and I, we started Suplex Properties in 2016. And really how it all happened was we were at a local sales company. So people in Rochester are probably familiar with CGI Communications.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there. I recruited Matt into the company, and then he quickly became a top 5 guy. And as we were discussing, hey, we're doing the 401k stuff, we're doing the IRAs, we're trying to do the best we can with what we know.
Right.
Shout out Reddit Finance. And you kind of like, all right, well, what's the next layer? If you're doing pretty good at 20-something years old, making commissions, you want to put your money where it can work. And found real estate, found Bigger Pockets, which was a great website. And it kind of showed you, it had like elements of like Robert Kiyosaki's book of, I'm blanking right now, but he's got a famous book that really teaches you about how passive investing works. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Gotcha.
And,
Yes.
So anyway, down the line, we're looking at real estate, looking at properties. And at the time I'm dating, who's now my wife, her brother is a property manager. And he's like, hey, I know you've been talking about real estate. There's this property. I think that would be really good for you guys. You can get in light, all these things. Great. So I had just put like a bunch of money with a financial planner. And we get to closing. This was a tax foreclosure. For those who don't know, a tax foreclosure, it's a cash deal. So this whole time, I didn't know that.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll get a mortgage. The thing costs $30,000. What's a mortgage on this? 10% down, whatever. This is easy peasy. I can do this.
Right.
And then the day of closing, so my attorney calls me. He goes, all right, so you got your cash, you got the cash funds. It's going to be like $32,000 with closing costs. I go, oh no, I got the mortgage coming. He's like, can't get a mortgage on our we're closing tomorrow.
Right.
You can't get a mortgage on it. And one of the things you always read in real estate investing is you never want to be somebody who doesn't close. It's a big deal, which it really isn't. It is. But when you're 22 and you don't know anything, like, yeah, we could have walked away. It's a tax foreclosure. No one's going to really be
Right.
But the brand of, hey, Suplex Properties, we close. Like every deal we've contracted, we've closed if we can help it. If there's not anything that is a contingency, like something that's crazy with like title or something along those lines. All right. So anyway, I literally had to call the guy I just gave the money to And then my partner had to clear out his bank account. So I only had like 25 of it. And then my partner cleared his, what he had. He didn't have anything other than that. And
Gosh.
he's like, you better not, this thing better work out.
Right.
And then boom, we did the deal. And, now having the residential and the commercial properties, but it started with that one. It started that one house on Curlew Street. And actually it's funny, about 10 years later, we bought a 15,000 square feet warehouse on Curlew Street.
Oh, really?
So it's just crazy how it all works out. But
Circles back.
yeah. And that was actually our first warehouse deal. So long story short, yeah, we started in 2016 and just hit the ground running.
Nice. That's a good way to learn a lesson.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Do you still have that property?
No, we sold
right.
it. We sold that property. And, but it was a great learning lesson how to find tenants, because we had a great tenant when we bought it, but then we had unfortunately with COVID, someone went in, stopped paying, could have paid, but didn't. Had to ask them to leave. Had to go through that process of eviction, and going through those processes, you learn if you just stick with it. If you kind of just like stay in the trenches, you kind of have to like get beat up a bunch. In any business, you got to get punched in the face, and we got punched in the face so many times. So now a lot of the issues where people get in and want to get out, it's just like, it doesn't hurt. The pain I've already been through. Like in any business, you have to go through a lot of pain. Yeah. And so now that pain is just like, oh no, run of the mill. But you go through that, and if you just stick with it, sometimes the good things do happen. Then we end up selling for, a good profit. So it worked out long term, but in the middle of it, there's a lot of like, what am I doing?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I feel like, especially if, once you're getting into it and you don't know certain things, taking that kind of hit on the chin can really deter some people from being like, I don't really want to get into this space. It'd be really intimidating.
It's bloody. It's painful. It's you're dealing with people, and you're dealing with some people that you do not like fundamentally, you're on a different page with, right? Because you're just like, but this is not how I was brought up. Like, you do what you say you're going to do. You pay your rent. Like you take care of things, right? You take care of your properties.
Right.
Well,
you are a clean human being, right?
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's where there's an arbitrage of making money, because people don't want to have to deal with people that they've never had to deal with before.
Right.
So but you also have to kind of develop that understanding that
a little bit of resilience.
Yeah, that you're not going to be always working with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
That's,
I mean, you've had that experience.
Right. When I had that experience, I had a property down Park Ave area, and it was great. When you have great tenants in there, it's the best thing ever. But then you have the ones that come in, and you go check on the property, you got to stop by, and I'm like, oh my.
And then they have
hoarder?
15
like,
cats in their house.
They got 15 cats. They got cats having babies, and it's like, what is going on?
Got a cat sanctuary.
And you got to remember, you got to go in knowing that it's they don't think it's their house. They know it's not theirs, so they're not going to respect it the same way you would respect your own house. So,
but it's just like, I look at it like that's just a crazy mindset. Like, I rented down on Park Ave for a long time, and I always treated the property well. Like, I felt like I lived there. I cleaned up. I made sure I didn't put huge holes in the wall. I tried to make sure everything was as good when I moved in. And it's just like a completely different mindset. And when I first heard your story, I was like, how do you have someone in that house that doesn't treat it like they should? And it's just like, I wasn't aware that those people exist.
Yeah.
Well, the mindset and the learning lesson with that experience and with what you just said, how you were, is it's really your fault. Right, because you didn't screen properly.
Right.
It's so like fault. If you could blame everybody else, and this is like not that obviously.
Right.
We're learning, right? So it's a good learning lesson of like, I did a shitty job screening the tenant.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, anytime there's an issue where I have an eviction, I go, well, that's on me, because I went too fast. I cut a corner. I didn't call everybody that I should have to make sure and verified, because everything else doesn't matter in real estate except the tenant. The tenant is the most critical part of the business, because they're your partner. Right. They're really someone that I always say when I'm working with somebody, I look forward to working with you. Like, we're working together. I'm going to provide a good service of, hey, when something happens, I want to know about it. Number one, don't keep it from me,
Right.
so I can fix it for you. And number two, all I'm asking for you, because I'm providing this housing, is that you pay your rent. And if you set that standard and you know, hey, I'm really hard in that beginning stage. Like, I'm going to be calling everybody I want to call your references. I want to call your business. I want to see the pay stubs. They go, all right, this guy's not really messing around. But if you don't do that, they go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just the standard. Now, it took 7 years to get that standard, right? Multiple evictions to get that standard, because as humans, we want to go the simple route, easy route.
Right.
But that never really works. So yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, I mean, that was my experience when I was running, like, background check, pay stubs, references, like the whole gamut. And it was like even the application was a long process.
Sure.
Because, like, I think if you make it so it is a long process and they actually do the work, then they're committed to it.
Correct.
If you make it easy, then every Joe Schmo is going to be applying for that particular rent.
Yes. You want them to feel like this is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. So you started residential. What got you into the commercial space?
So residential has always been, and it still is, a big part of our business, because we have a flipping division and these are not flips, these are custom remodels. We buy properties that are in need of facelifts, and we give them that custom look. Why commercial was because with residential, it's really hard to scale. You have leasing every year. Unfortunately, you have problems that occur with regulations that are not really the best for the landlord, and honestly not good for the tenant. And I'll give you an example, because, and we'll get to the why commercial, but gives you an example of why. In New York State now, you can't ask someone to leave if they're paying their rent. Okay, so it's called good cause eviction.
Right.
So you have to show good cause on the eviction. It's actually quite difficult to show that, because if you are paying your rent, but you're also dealing drugs out of your house, right? I have to be an investigator and have to show that you're doing that. I can't, because you could just go to the judge, all these judges are leaning towards the tenants. Right. In Rochester. That's not why I got into the business, is to be, a personal investigator to find out exactly when and how you sold your drugs. Right. And the other thing being, if you're in a duplex, which we own a lot of, you might have a really good tenant in one side and a bad tenant in the other, but the bad tenant's paying rent, and this good tenant saying, what am I doing? Like, why are you have this person here? I can't just get this person out.
Yeah.
Right.
So this doesn't feel like it's going to be able to be long-term and scalable, because, all the stuff that we're doing, my partner and I, is at some point you'd like to have your kids, which you guys were able to, do, learning from your parents, to come in and do a business.
Yep.
They don't have to take it over, but you want to give them a vehicle that if they'd like to, it's there. And that's not something I would want anybody to have to go into, is learning that type of business. So we looked at what are we passionate about? Well, from our CGI days, working with businesses, amping them up online, getting their, online advertising, getting more business to come to them. Well, let's be business housing providers. Let's house the businesses and give them all the things that they would need to be successful. Whether it's the dock doors and making sure that the drive-in doors were working, making sure that the signage is there, all the things that we want to be able to prep it. Oh, by the way, you're like-minded individual like me. You're a business owner.
Right.
So typically you want to make sure that your rent's paid, right? And you want to make sure that we do a good job as a landlord, and you're going to do a good job as a business, so that we can keep you in the building. So that was the fundamental shift, is hey, this is a good route. And it's something that is even, it's less management intensive, because in residential, you got 1-year leases. Someone might sign a 10-year lease and they just want you to leave them alone. Let me just work my business out of here.
Right.
So that's why the pivot occurred.
Very cool. Makes sense.
But how much of your business is still residential and what's commercial?
That's a good question. So, 2 years ago, it was 90% residential, 10% commercial. It's starting to turn where it's now more 60% residential, 40% commercial.
Do you think the real estate, I guess, two-side question. One, how are you viewing the real estate market lately? Because it's been absolutely bananas. And then 2, is that partially why you're leaning more towards the commercial side? I think I said an added part to going commercial side.
Yeah, we've never been dependent on how when we find properties that we buy, we've never been dependent on the market.
Yeah.
We've always created our own market. And what I mean by that is we always have looked at off-market opportunities. So, using our sales experience and being okay to pick up the phone, right? And I have a team of very successfully trained, really professional cold callers. That's all we're doing every day is we're calling opportunities, and we're pulling these bespoke lists of a tired landlord, or maybe this landlord has a code violation, or maybe this is a vacant property that we saw in the vacant registry. Or, hey, let's foil this list of, properties that have their water shut off in Greece, right? So kind of thinking outside the box so we can find that needle in the haystack, but find them more often. And so that we've never been dependent on, hey, we're on the market and I'm competing with you guys, right? Looking for your next property on Park Ave. Just never been something that we wanted to do. And so that's been our thing that we've always poured our most resources and time into. And that's the great equalizer for us, is because we don't have a lot of the pivot into commercial, because we don't have the name in the community like the Buckingham or the Flams, all those guys who I love. I think they're unbelievable. I can't wait though to 20, 30 years in order to get my name there.
Right.
So the way to do that is by doing the stuff that they probably don't want to do, or don't have maybe the same experience or expertise that we have, which is just hit the ground, just hit the pound the pavement. Because that can separate anybody in business. Are you willing to just pick up the phone, or you got to look kind of silly?
Are you willing to put in the work?
Yeah. Are you willing to get hung up on a bunch of times? Which we are. So we've said, okay, if that worked for residential and we were able to kind of, not jump over everybody, but we were able to be successful there, could we do the same thing in commercial? And so far, that seems to be at least a track that's working.
Yeah. Yeah. With the commercial, is there any specific types of buildings you're looking for, or is there a niche that you guys have?
Yes. Industrial warehouse. We love warehouse space. We love, even flex, where there's a little bit of office, but then there's a majority of a warehouse. That's really what we've been focusing on, is industrial warehouse, industrial, manufacturing type businesses or type properties.
Now, how is the commercial real estate market in Rochester? I know residential market's still on fire. I mean, it seems like it's, you still hear about properties going well over asking. But, I think, there was the push for the work from home. So I feel like commercial, space probably wasn't as important or necessary. Are we seeing more of that? People going back to work, back into the office? How's the commercial space?
That's a good question. So, when you think commercial, there's so many different verticals within commercial, right? You have office, you have multifamily, large multifamily, you have industrial, right? You have a couple of the retail, you have all these different sections. So each one is going to have its good years and bad years. COVID obviously decimated office here in Rochester, but it didn't affect warehouse as much. So it seems that is more of, because everybody still needs to produce. You need the production. You need to be able to, house the plumbing contractor. The electrician is always going to need something where to, put his supplies. And so we like that. We like those types of spaces. To answer your question, how is that market? I think there's a lot more buyers than there are renters right now for industrial. I think that, at least in my anecdotal experience of, 3-4 years, a lot more people want to buy. And I don't know if that's a good thing, candidly, because I know how hard it is to run my own real estate. And if you're running your business and you're overseeing your real estate, I don't know if that's always the best fit for them. Because I've asked businesses, why don't you just buy? And they're like, well, this is a line item. I know what my rent is.
Right.
I don't know if a roof collapses or the heat goes out. I don't have plumbers and electricians. I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
I want to run my plumbing company. I want to, whatever it might
I have
be.
a business to run.
I have a business to run.
Right.
This is just a line item that I know my rent, and I can underwrite my business based on, okay, I know for a fact I have to pay X a month.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm seeing a little bit of, is that I think the interest rates, when they go down, they'll be very helpful for us as well, to be able to buy more and to be able to just be able to work with banks more to try to make the payment or the rent lower for folks, and make that number work a little bit better. But residential is a big still part of our business with our flipping division. So that's been great. But even that, you're not seeing the crazy that happened in 2020 and 2021, 2022. You really need to find that really good spot, and then you got to do a really good job to it in order to get kind of that over asking.
Yeah.
So, because we have stuff that's sitting, we do, but bad buy on us. Small, no basement, stuff like that, where you might have been able to get away with that 2-3 years ago, but now it's
right.
So that's not always like, oh my God, these things are going bananas, but there's a couple that will really be able to help you with some of the pain on the ones that do sit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was the crazy part. There's no inspection,
Sight
cash, sight on scene. I mean, it was just like a free-for-all.
Sure.
I mean, if you asked for any sort of inspection or contingency, it was like, nope.
Wiped right off the list.
Because there was an offer that didn't happen.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I got to imagine those days are probably gone, at least for now.
At least getting a little better.
It's getting better. It's a great time to buy right now. I mean, there's stuff that goes past delayed. And I think just so many buyers and buyers agents are just so beat up, from the last couple of years that they're just still like, shell shocked. So, but I think right now with the right offers, and if you're making aggressive offers, you can get a good deal right now. Yeah. You can even buy a good investment right now. Truly. Yeah, there's some stuff on there right now that you could buy right off the market and make money on.
Yeah, I've always heard you, was it you marry the property, you date the interest rate or something like that? That's, I've always heard that saying.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never heard that saying.
You haven't?
No.
That's like, that's the lingo that agents will use to get you to, buy at a 7.5%.
Right. Yeah, because you could always refinance.
Which may not be always the best thing. But it's not my business.
You haven't heard that before?
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
No. I like it, but I've never heard that before.
Yeah, marry the property, date the rate.
Yes, that's it. Do you have any? So I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't know why, because I don't spend any time there. The downtown, I feel like, has gone over a flip from, at least from when I lived downtown. It was a happening place to be. Everyone was out at the bars, and I could walk from Park Ave to East and Alexander and back, and no issues. Do you, at least from your side, see a flip as far as how downtown is being viewed or used, as far as it used to be restaurants and bars, and maybe now it's going to be more businesses?
So I think there's a couple of things there. So let's talk about the pros. So you got some really good owners that just bought the whole East Ave strip, the Giannini brothers. Max is a good guy. And his brother Blake, they bought basically from where Murphy's Law is, okay, down that whole stretch, all right, to if you're familiar with like where Veneto is, the restaurant, Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're in it for the long haul, which is what you need. You need long-term mindsets right now down there, because right now, it's everybody's in Fairport, everyone's going out in Fairport, everyone's going out all these other places besides downtown.
Right.
Why did you go downtown when you were younger? Why, it was because it was a little weird, right? You were going to get a little bit of a different experience. You're going to see some artists. You're just going to get some funk.
Yeah.
That
big city vibe.
Yeah. That funk kind of left and went to other places. And I think a lot of it was just bad owners of buildings. They weren't taking care of the properties. Right. And we had a few of those, but I think that's starting they're starting to get out, the bad owners. And now you got some young blood coming in. And you're starting to get that funk back. You're starting to see there's some cool, like on Sunday, we're having in the East Ave area, we're having like the Bills game. They're shutting down the streets. They had to shut down the street during the weekends for, not so much safety, but just to like make it so that you can walk around without having to just have any, with all the cars. And a lot of the issues were like the cars parking in places and just playing music and they weren't actually going in to be patrons of the bars and restaurants.
Right.
So that's the good news. The good news is like it's super safe now. You got good owners over there. You got people that want to be in that mix. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you could go to Fairport, but it's kind of boring. It's the same. You're going to see the same type of people, right? Yeah. People in polos, and it's like, yeah, it's fun, but you did that because you wanted safety. But when you go out when you're younger, you want to hit the dance clubs and do the fun stuff.
You want to meet people.
You want to meet people from different cultures and different backgrounds, and you want to just like, this is cool. This is different. You're not going to get that in Fairport. You're going to get that in the city. So I think that
you're going to get people like us who are married and have kids
right.
and go out
and don't have
once
they want to just go out
weeks.
For a little bit, have some drinks, and then head home. But
you might not
leave by 9:30, 10 o'clock.
You may not be the market for downtown.
I'm not the market for downtown.
Of course not. Yeah. Right? The 30s and 40s.
Music's too loud.
Yeah.
dude, you are such a...
Music's too loud. Too many people.
Oh, my God. But 9 o'clock bedtime.
There is still an issue with, there's certainly still an issue, but this is like statewide, nationwide of like, if you commit something petty, you should, if you commit a crime, you should go to jail, right? Like you shouldn't have to have 5-6 arrests in order to, so yeah, there's still that, but that's unfortunately statewide. Right. But Rochester is unfortunately a pretty poor city. But there's one or two pockets that are bad. When you think, unfortunately, the majority of people, when they think downtown, they think of those pockets, but it's not true. Right. Just come, check it out. Park Ave is still crushing. Monroe Ave needs help. Easton Alexander is coming back up. But I think the city is about 2 to 3 years away from really being back to where it was when you were there.
That's awesome. I hope it is.
Yeah.
I hope it is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many restaurants. There's been so much money that's been poured into downtown that, I remember, they're Good Luck and, some of these restaurants that, you love going to. Fiorella, Trotta, you got, I think Patron Saint. I haven't been there, but
Patron Saint's fantastic.
They're crushing there right now.
Yeah.
They're crushing it.
And so, you have those awesome restaurants that people want to go to, but maybe they just don't feel comfortable. No, I appreciate you sharing that.
It just takes one or two businesses to blow up to get someone to come back.
Right.
It takes one or two just catalysts that want people to come to, and they go, oh, this is pretty sweet. Like I could live right there and then I could work right there. Okay, maybe I will choose here instead of paying, $1,700 for a 1-bedroom in Fairport. I could pay $1,000 a month and live here.
Right.
So it just takes a couple of things, but I think it's on its way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you find maybe it's because, when you're starting a family, you have young kids, maybe you want to go out to the suburbs to kind of have that family, but, some of these families, when their kids go to college, now they're home, they don't have kids at home anymore. So they're like, why don't we go downtown, live downtown again? You got these restaurants. We work downtown.
High-rise.
Yeah, just, have everything right there. Maybe that's kind of that next wave, people coming back. Do you see that?
Yes, that's certainly happening. I think when you go out to the suburbs, there's some great spots, obviously, right? Like I frequent them, but they're cookie cutter kind of things. It's like, you can kind of get this anywhere. Downtown, that's where the artists are, right? That's where the really interesting music is. That's where the new food is. That's where that's where you're going to get a lot of immigrants coming to like open up their restaurants and start something fresh and new. And I think people want that. Yeah. And I do think that, you got a big giant house that the kids all to college, you don't really need it anymore. You sell it, you downsize, and you move somewhere downtown. Sure, I think that's happening. Anecdotally, it happened to one of my business partners. They were in Brighton, and kid just moved to college, and then they moved down to the city. And so I think it's there. I think it's happening.
Yeah. Everyone wants to talk about that new restaurant that they found downtown.
Sure.
Right.
Exactly.
That no one's heard of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Kind of hidden away.
And I think the people in the suburbs are probably like, dude, go back. Go back to the city. Like, you know what I mean? They're like, this is for, they probably like, there's too many people coming over.
Right.
Yeah. Fairport's, this is too busy.
It's insane.
Yeah,
right?
It's
insane.
It
and
is
with
insane.
it seems like every other year that the road's closed,
Right.
there's some construction on the bridge or the railroad tracks. And, you can't find a parking spot. You're like, what am I even doing?
Right.
Like, I'm just going to turn around and go home anyway.
Right.
Like,
I know. I judge where I go on if they have parking. I never thought I would get to that point, but I'm just like, is there parking there? If there's not, I'm not going.
And I get that. I think the number one concern for the parents who are the ones that are probably giving the money to go out is safety.
Right.
Yeah,
So
for
they're
sure.
willing to put the money on your card to get the Uber to go down.
Right,
to
100%,
Right. So
100%.
we got to start changing that a bit. But I think either way, I think there's still good things happening.
So what do you kind of see, obviously, East Alexander, 2-3 years, you think it'll be back to booming. What do you kind of foresee, like, residential, like, over the next, 2-3 years?
In the city?
City or in general, like,
Yeah.
you can do both. What do you think?
I think it's still going to be tough to find. I think it's still going to be a seller's market, not to the capacity as it is now, but I still think there's just such a shortage of houses.
Yeah.
There's a big shortage of houses, and that's sad because, one of the issues on why you're seeing a lot of, like, I'm going to get a little political here, but one of the issues why you see a lot of more of like a socialist movement is because people can't afford housing.
Yeah.
Right. And when you don't have a financial future, then you're not going to see capitalism as an avenue that works for you.
Yeah.
And why back in the baby boomer time, when people came back from World War II, you had all this housing. And partly was because if you didn't have that, if you weren't able to, like, find housing and actually, like, be able to take part in this financial renaissance that occurred, that maybe communism would have spread in America if they didn't have the ability to have affordable housing. We don't have that ability right now. So there needs to be some major laws to build. And a lot of it's NIMBYism, right? Not in my backyard. I don't want that 10 unit to be built in my neighborhood. But what happens is that, we have an issue of a declining birth rate. So you got people that just go, well, how am I going to start a family? I can't afford housing. Right. So you're having a lot of these young kids, in their 20s that have all this college debt, and they can never see themselves actually being able to participate in wealth or having any sort of wealth to occur. And housing is the number one way for, regular folks to experience that. So when you turn the off switch on that, bad things happen. And I think we really need to do a much better job of allowing zoning or whatever it might be to get the housing to happen. I think Jeff Cook's doing a really good job with what he's trying to do with, modular housing or manufactured housing. Yeah. This isn't the trailer parks of the old days. These are beautiful homes. Right. We need to allow this to happen at, $125,000. You get a 3-bedroom, beautiful house. Just happens to be not, what we're used to. But I think we need to think differently to make that occur. But I think that's something that's a really big issue.
Yeah, like these starter type homes, right?
Where are they?
Right.
There's no such thing.
No, I mean, one of the homes I used to live in, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, no basement. It was on a pad. I think I sold at like 125. I just looked it up the other day. It's like 260. On Zillow. I'm like, what?
Exactly.
How?
That's a real issue because we're not building enough houses, and it's because of regulation.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how people do it. Like, especially if you want to start a family, kids are expensive. Like, you got your retirement you got to save for. You got to save for your kids if you want to pay for college for them or start kind of like an investment for them. You've got groceries at an all-time high. You've got, not getting paid enough. And then if you want to have one or two kids.
Healthcare costs.
Healthcare, oh my gosh, healthcare costs going up, 25% year over year. It adds up. I mean, my healthcare cost is almost as much as my mortgage.
That's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's insane.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like gone are the days where you can buy a nice house for $100,000.
Right. That's gone. There's none of those, unless you're willing to put a lot of work into a property, which we don't know how to do that. Right. What generation? Our generation does not, and the younger ones that have no clue how to do that. Our parents would have been like, yeah, we buy a fixer upper, we put some work into it, and it's just not. Those are non-existent.
Yeah. The times have changed.
Yeah.
So the only way through that is you got to build. You got to build, and you need to, allow the zoning to be where it's advantageous for developers. We need to champion developers. We need to champion home builders and not try to make it very difficult for them, which is what is happening currently. And you have like one or two people that are very loud in a community. Like look at Canandaigua, right? You might have like, there's all these things that are trying to be built down there and they don't want to change.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
But what happens is, how are the school enrollments? Probably not great, right? They're not good anywhere, right? Everything's going down because nobody's having kids. So if you may not want change, but then you're going to die. So you need to really get it started again to get more people to kind of start having kids and be able to feel comfortable having kids. And it starts at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Speaking of construction, I guess this would be a great segue. You've started a new project on your side of the business doing remodeling, is it? And kind of that construction side. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We saw a big problem with people who bought houses during the pandemic that maybe they didn't get the inspection. They didn't have the ability to go, well, I was going to use that money for that property to put into the bathroom, but looks like I'm going to be tapped out, right? Or I didn't want to buy this exact house, but I don't have any options. Yeah. I want to change some things. So, with our 10 plus years of experience of renovating houses for ourselves, we say, well, is there an opportunity? Would people want someone who actually knows what to do or how to do it and can give them really a lot of the problem that happens that I've seen is that people don't know what they want, right? They're like, well, I don't know. I want this bathroom to be changed because it's from the 70s, but I just don't even know. So you want to be able to give people a couple of options, not a ton of options, because then the decision making,
right?
Like, well, do I go with this one or this one?
It's like scrolling for a movie on Netflix.
Exactly. You won't end up making a decision, right?
Yeah.
So, the thought process is like, hey, here's 3 options for the bathroom, right? Like you can go custom. If you have if you are the minority of people who knows what they want, we'll help you for sure. Yeah. But for the majority of people who, and let's face it, my wife's making the decisions and love her, but she doesn't always she's not always able to make quick decisions. You want to be able to start making some decisions when you have a serious need. Like, hey, let's get this bathroom done. So, hey, here's a couple of options. Here are the 2 different types of vanities. Here are the 2 types of different flooring. Like, we can do this and we can be done in a week. Great. Like, you just want to be able to get it done. Yeah. So that's something that we're doing. But we also do a lot with our team because of what we were doing in the commercial side. We like working with businesses. We like, hey, what's your vision for this space, right? If you're a chiropractor who just, was renting and bought a house that wants to turn into a chiropractor office, hey, we can do the floors, the paint. We're a light interior commercial construction business, so we're not doing the developing, we're not building, but we can go in and we can do the bathrooms for you, the floors, the paint, the kitchens, all that stuff that we are used to from just our experience. So those are the 2 types of things we're doing.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like perfect way of understanding your own market as far as you were already doing it essentially as far as for yourselves. And then you realize, oh, well, this is a pretty decent market. I mean, I know a lot of my friends that bought houses around that time who, I mean, even myself in general, like we bought our house and then we had 2 kids. We're like, we're kind of busting at the seams. Sure. Is there something that we can do to our house to kind of make it a little easier on us? Do we want to finish the basement? Do we want to redo the kitchen? Do we want to do X, Y, and Z? So yeah, I definitely think it's a huge market, especially for people that were, like I said, buying houses that need a change now.
No. They need a change
and they can't go anywhere.
And they're not going to.
Yeah.
Especially if you probably bought at the right time, you probably had like a 2, 3, 4% interest rate.
2.8.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
Free money, essentially.
So you're very likely going to stay. But if you're going to stay, make it exactly how you want. And we're there when that need, arises.
Yeah. Like you said before, though, the crazy part is like the kids these days don't know how to do those renovations, don't know how to build. Like, fortunately, our dad, we had a couple uncles, they built their own houses. My dad and I finished our basement when I was a kid, so I learned all that. So I can do it. But, some of my buddies come over, they're like, dude, you did this? Like,
sure.
Like, yeah. Like, I don't even know how to, I wouldn't even know where to start,
right.
And so that need is definitely there, especially with this younger generation.
Well, yeah, they're busy doing whatever they're doing on, they can do stuff that we can't do with, internet.
Oh, right.
Blockchain,
Yeah,
whatever
right,
they're working
right.
on,
Yeah.
AI. They're doing all this other
I feel
great
like
stuff.
such an old man right now
I
with
know.
their tablets and
Yeah.
knickknacks.
Yeah, they can design it real quick on some app or something, but
yeah.
they can't do the final piece.
It's not for everybody. Yeah, no, that's a craft.
And which I think because kind of going back to college having all that debt and everything. I think trade school is going to become bigger eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Like those jobs are well-paying jobs, and you're not entering the job market with all that debt.
Talk about that
dude,
wealth transfer. It's going
Right.
to be a transfer of all those people that did those blue-collar jobs are going to be retiring, and it's like, who's going to do it next?
Yeah, I mean, and talk about that's your investment. You're starting your own business and everything else, and but I think that's something that we're going to see more and more of.
Oh, if we poured into that, we'd be this country will be a lot more successful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If everybody poured into how, back in when we were kids, your parent may say, get paid for what you know, not what you do. Right. You maybe have heard that. That's what was told to us all the time. No, you get paid for what you do. Now everybody knows everything because you have AI. There's no information that you may have there's some arbitrage that you can occur there, but the majority of everybody knows everything now. So, but nobody can do everything. The majority of people can't do anything. Yeah. So those people are going to win. The plumbers are going to win. The sheet metal are going to win. HVAC is going to win. Electrical, they're going to win. So yeah, we need to pour into that, and that will help.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Well, is there? I feel like we're starting to wrap up here. Is there anything that you want to plug for yourself on this free space? You get your cut.
Sure.
What do you want to plug? What do you want to say in your final few minutes here?
No, thanks for having me on. It's always good to see you guys and catch up. Just if you know anybody who is looking for space in Victor or Farmington, we have 5,500 square feet of some really good space off New York 96, right near where the Fastenal is, if you know where that area is.
Yeah, we're
It's
right
right
over
by
there.
our office.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right over there, we got great spot. And if you have a building, or if you just bought an office, or you're an insurance agent or doctor or dentist and you need help with your remodel, give us a call. Happy at least to quote it out, give you an idea.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You heard it here first. Appreciate it.
good.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming
great
on,
to see
buddy.
you guys.
Yeah,
thanks
good
for
seeing
having
you again,
me.
buddy.
Absolutely.
And any questions, feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out to Marty. He's more than happy to answer questions. If you guys have more, questions on getting into the real estate market, whether it's residential, commercial, I would start with him first. So thanks again for joining us.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah.
Take care.
See you guys.